All right. Well, looks like I'm live. Fingers crossed that the sound is good. So that's check, 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 check. Please let me know if I sound like some sort of weird robot or there's a bizarre mechanical sound kicking in. That's notification that I'm live on my phone. Hey, Anzen. Hope you're doing great. I back in my mind, I kind of went, you know what? The Conan diehards who might show up for today may not show up today because of the Super Bowl. Because I know a lot of Conan fans are also huge Taylor Swift fans, and they'll be showing their support. Oh, great! I'm relieved about the sound. So tonight, yeah, I'm doing Conan again. I am so close to being done. This story, 48 pages. I actually have I'm past. This is page 37. I'm past this. Um, which is good because I was so hoping I'd be actually done tonight, but I'm not going to be. But every page past 37 shows too much of the climax, and I don't want to stream any of that. So I kind of after I did all the solid blacks for all the panels and everything, I kind of had a moment. I was like, this is probably a page I should leave for the stream because it's got Conan, walking past some ghosts, going past the tree with all the weapons in it. I think I showed that to you guys. Grabbing his axe, seeing some barrels of pitch, and then walking on his way to the temple in the middle of the town. And yeah, so I think I can actually get most of this inked tonight because they're all small, very direct, except for all the details in this panel here, where there's an old Wally Wood quote, and it's great. I just saw it. A friend of mine just shared it on Instagram today. Is don't draw when you can copy. Don't copy when you can trace. Don't trace when you can paste. And it's attributed to Wally. It's basically about being as economical as you can be. But one of the wonderful things about working in comics with all the digital tools available, I took a finished inked panel portion of this chopped up stump of a tree and with all these weapons in it, and instead of penciling it all over again, I literally grabbed the ink panel, threw it in, so it has enough information for me to re-ink on top of this. So essentially, I'm copying my own drawing, which is a huge time saver. Um, Yeah, and it's also, what is this? This is a 10 panel page. Oh my God, let me pull this camera down. A lot of panels tonight. So I'll see how many I can get done in like an hour and a half, hour and a half, depending how my energy holds up because I think I've been, oh, hello. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that first issue. It looks gorgeous. I'm really looking forward to my issue because I'm a little ego driven that way. But having Savage Sword of Conan in magazine size and black and white on the stands again is already a lifelong Conan fan's dream. So, and being in it is like, I don't want to die, but scratching this off my bucket list, that's not a bad thing. To my mind, anyway. No, I don't want to die. I have so many more things I want to draw. All right, so we got Conan stroking his beard. I don't think you guys got to see any beardy Conan pages. It's only really in this climax of the book where he has his full beard because he's been hiding and getting his legs and broken arm to heal for so much of this book. What was the page I was working on last week? I'm trying to remember. Was it the wolves coming out? Hey Frankie, how you doing? Wolves approaching. No, let me pull that page out. They're all piled up. Such a big pile of all this massive sheets of paper. All right. So yeah, so there's sorry, reflective ink there. There he is. It is kind of like half shelter, sharpening a sharpened stick. Close up of him as he's realizing there's sounds. Silhouettes of the wolves and trees. And those are those big old scratchy, scary wolves emerging out of the darkness. So that's that. That's all on page 27 there. Hey, Ninja, how you doing? Awesome. I honestly, that's one of my favorite things to do when someone's streaming. I draw. That's one of my favorite things to do. He's at this point in the story, he is wearing the wolf hides as his clothing. So it's just see, so that was 27. So this is like 10 pages later. So there's a fair amount that's happened in those 10 pages. As you know, one would expect. But so we got bearded caveman Conan walking through. It does not end well for at least a few of the wolves. No, it's in typical Conan fashion. Something shows up, something Conan kills it. One of the things I like, this is vellum finish 400 Strathmore paper, so it has a toothy surface. Hey, Paul. Well, I think honestly, they know number one's going to sell no matter who's in it, so they just got that. I mean, you might have heard of him. I think his name's Kerry Nord. I think he's in there. The quality, some of the stuff I've seen that's coming up in Savage Sword is just incredible. So it's like it's looks like at least of the first 3 issues, everything is just astoundingly good. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. Oh yeah, so this is 400 Strathmore vellum paper. So I'm people in watching file know I use these liquid ink ballpoint pens, Oto graphic liners. And one of the wonderful things about the super fine one, if I want to, I just don't push that hard on it, and it ends up becoming like a sketch pen. And it really allows me to, with how loose my pencils are, to do kind of like almost a feel my way through my initial drawing. And again, it's almost like I said this before. I've long ago kind of abandoned that whole kind of super finished looking comic art. I want everything that I draw to look like I'm there, almost like a war reporter or drawing live. And so anything that allows me to feel like I'm more in the process of drawing live or with a sense of immediacy from the comic panel makes me feel I'm better doing what I really feel my comic work should be about. Hopefully that wasn't too badly. It's it would be one thing I do this when I'm illustrating. I have a lot of process because I think process is really important. Thank you, Walrus. Yeah, Carrie's so good. It's I do like a lot of layers. If you remember the video from December, I think, where I walked you through how I lay out a page. I will lay out a page a lot, and I'll think through, okay, is this shot, is this panel working? Is this driving to the next panel? Is it working in the context of the overall story? in the context of um, the narrative that we're trying to build, the mood, everything. And so I'll spend more time on layouts than many times on the actual drawing of the comic page. Whereas when I was younger, it's like everything I literally had to draw like everything in thorough detail, especially when you're getting inked by someone else and you don't know what the inker is going to prioritize. Um, so now that I'm making myself, I get to really try and find that sense of immediacy. Not necessarily like a court artist, but in some way where it really feels like you're there seeing it get drawn, like a certain fluidity. And what's weird is there's so many artists who I just absolutely love who do everything with so much linear precision, like Garcia Lopez, who's the goat to my mind. Um, I've jumped up to the 03, which gives me a nice chunky line and a thickness and fluidity to the line that allows me to build up those values a lot stronger. It's part of me that's a little worried that with those monstrous cheekbones that Conan has, so I'm going with the Buscema model Conan here. It seems like everyone wants to. He might look too much like Jack Black with the beard. Well, April's not that far away, and I was just literally looking at my workload. Um, and April seems like the best possible time for me because I just I don't think I said this before. I pitched a little short story for Ahoy's cryptid book, so I love that. I love that weird stuff. It allows you to, and I love anthologies. No one's doing anthologies anymore, man. I think anthologies are one of the most experimental platforms in comics. Um, so I'm doing a cryptid story for Ahoy. I'm writing a drawing on top of like all the stuff I'm doing with the Witches for Coven and for the Viking book that's coming up. I got a project I want to write for Christopher Mitten. Really want to get my friend Mike Ruth drawing a Viking story. It came up exclusively for him. Pit of the collarbones, come on. Yeah, that's right. Here we go. All those shoulder scars that Conan always has. Yeah, anthologies are harder to sell. I think with the right contributors right from the outset, you can get an anthology to, I was actually going to draw his hand on his beard. And I just got so lost in getting the values in his beard right completely. I don't think he needs it. I can always paste it in after if I decide I can go back and draw on a separate piece of paper and like just glue it in. Actually, I want a more opaque black for the shadow under here. Um, the cryptid series seems to be doing well for Ahoy, which I'm really happy with because otherwise I wouldn't have an opportunity to do a story in it. Um, but as I understand it, it's a lot of Ahoy books. They just find this way into an audience that a lot of other comic companies haven't been able to be successful with. I think there's a sense where what Ahoy's doing right, and it's why I'm happy to be associated with it. Even though a lot of the stuff they do, I mean, I'm a horror guy. I'm a horror dark fantasy guy. That's my wheelhouse. Would the wheelhouse be the right thing? That's my happy place as a creator. Um, if this was the '90s, I would want everything I do to be at Vertigo. Back when I was in that era of Vertigo. Sadly, I did get to work with Vertigo eventually on a very Vertigo-esque series. Got to do covers, but sadly, and Second Coming was originally supposed to be a Vertigo book. Um, but yeah, all that horror, dark fantasy, all that stuff. That's my bread and butter, baby. Oh, hey, Frankie, if you're still here. So that photo of a peanut butter burger. Um, so is that like so I know you like donuts, but I don't think I've ever noticed you actually eating meat before. So I'm wondering if there's is that some sort of one of those Beyond Meat beef patties with like a slab of peanut butter on top of it? Um, really curious. I was going to ask you on when I saw it online, but so oh, so it's peanut butter and real beef. Okay, now I'm really curious. So I do love some of your burger. Probably some breeze. Um, heavy up his eyebrows here a bit more. Get that hair coming downward too. There we go. Okay. Okay. So it's just a flavor enhancement because I know there's a lot of like peanut flavors in Thai food and everything. So I was wondering if there's like a different like if you use like you infuse the patty with a lot more of a soy flavor or something or made it spicier, something like that. Maybe I shouldn't do this on stream. Maybe I should actually like message you on Instagram or something and get the deets. But I am now thoroughly on board for trying. All right, okay. I think I might be going to my butcher and getting myself some good old proper ground beef for a burger. Lately, I've been doing when I do. I love cooking. My favorite thing for the last few years is a beef pork mixture for patties. I just find that somehow that just is just such a richer flavor. Best part I like about this story is so Conan, both his legs busted up, his left arm busted up, has to hide out. And I snuck in a whole bunch of survival stuff I learned by watching videos over the last months. Um, and there's this town full of those weird mutated cultists. You've probably seen some of the drawings of. Uh, Series toppings along with peanut butter on top with a fried egg. Oh, I've tried fried egg burgers. I still feel I have to do them in the morning to really just have that whole egg thing properly in there. But I do love me fried egg and a burger. So hangover burgers, yeah. Oh God, I haven't been weird. It's been forever. Probably because of COVID. It's been forever since I've really gotten hungover. I've gotten a little tipsy with some friends, but so this panel. So all these mounds here are the settling graves from of the lake that Conan was found in at the beginning of the story, the one he dug out from, and you got Jimmy drawing across in that rainstorm. So this night in the comic books, the ghosts are rising and then floating down towards the town, which I'm going to sketch down here. So it's going to be one of those, a whole lot of implied elements. Burgers are so good. My apartment building, we're not allowed to have barbecues on our balconies for fire safety reasons. But in the park, like my building is like right adjacent to it, like a nice little city urban parkette. They have these standing grills, like the permanent in there. You can add your own grill on top of it, but have those like heavy iron um, public usage barbecue stands. And it's so great. I can just pick up like I have to pick up a new bag of coal. I can just pop over there any time of day. Well, it's like middle of the day in the weekend, terrible. But I'm self-employed, so I get to go whenever I want. And just throw the coals on, torch them up. And a lot of times what I'll find I do, if I'm just doing that for like a cooking thing, and the coals will last a lot longer than cooking one burger. I'll actually bring a lot of other food, and I'll while I'm eating my usually lunch. I'll cook some other things, like I'll cook a bunch of wings that I can reheat later. It's like prefab food, and it basically just gives me those extra tasty things to just for warming up or adding to a salad. Like blackened chicken is so much better to add to a salad than just oven roasted chicken. Hey, Amy, thanks for popping in. There's certain things that are always prep. Like I'll make a turkey chili, um, which I can generally go a little spicier with. Um, Mostly in the fall. I love making all sorts of prefab foods, especially my slow cooker, which just seems like a winter thing for me. But grilled foods in the summer, man, oh, so good. So I'm gonna be doing a lot of what I think hopefully will work. A lot of value things, so the ghosts will pop up and it'll feel like night. So I'm probably, hey, you know what? I'm going to do it right now because I haven't whipped it up for you guys to see in a little while. Got to move some stuff off so I can fire this off properly. You guys remember these? Our rubber stamps. My favorite part about these rubber stamps is that they never give you clean zipatone effects. They're always a little organic. Crunch, 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 crunch. Suddenly you got value everywhere. And it's not a clean value. It's not like a noisy, dirty, because little bits of it just won't load up with the ink properly. I could probably load the pad with some more ink right now too. I think this one is wide enough for me to do, yeah. I'll just ink right on top of it. And I'll use white paint to pull the ghost out. Hopefully that shows up well enough on the screen. I'll probably do something similar like in every single panel except for here because, oh, here, yoink here at the bottom. He's going to be lit from behind, even though he's walking towards the light. And I'm going to do some like partial shadow coming across his face. So every panel is going to have a load of this screen tone. As I go into that bit. And it just darkens everything up in a real nice way. And I can still see the blue lines underneath here. So I should also do the horizon. And here you just kind of do like the illusion of drawing the tops of the buildings. And here the middle part is this temple. Probably going to put a little bit of white paint in there too. Just to make that looming shape. This town that's essentially just surrounding this temple and all the mutated cultists that worship there. The very next page, page 38, which is why I'm not drawing it tonight, you get to see the big Lovecraftian monster that's running on the whole show. So that page took a day and a half to draw, which is also part of the reason why I'm not done tonight like I thought I was going to be. Yeah, I printed up my own rubber stamps. I have one that has like I think you can see it gets darker on this side. So I have like a fade in one. And then I have somewhere floating around here, it is. My initial, it's just a little bit of I'd say 25-30% of value in terms of a grid. This is the very first one I made. I got 4 or 5 now. I just have not had the time because it takes a little bit of effort to get companies to know exactly what you want from them when you approach them with this. And the person I made my initial ones with has retired. But I love my rubber stamps. There's weirdly enough, the ones I have now would still do, even if I had the other 4 or 5 ones I've designed, would still do most of the work. For what I do with what I use in foreign comics, but I've realized there's very specific usages I want to do with my stamps that I don't have to mask off as much. So one of the things I want to do is I'm not going to pull it out. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper and do this. No, I don't want to use that. Here we go. So there's one that's about this value, but I gave it like a wobbly loose edge. So when I stamp it, I just get like an organic one. And what I also did when I was designing the file for it, let's say everything in here is that set, say 35% value of tone, and I have it fade out. So I just literally shrunk the dots. So I get like, it goes to about 10% here. So 35 to 10%. So it's a fading, like a dark spot. So I can stamp it over something and I can actually overlay at the edges. It reduces the moire from the overlap, but allows me to create a lot more organic shapes of tone. which I'm really happy about. Now, this is deep into fall, so all the leaves are falling. So let me just almost like use the pen as a dry brush to get a little bit more value into this tonal area. Because of the existing tone down there, the scritchy, inconsistent way the ink is coming out of the pen just merges with it quite nicely, I find. I can even cross-hatch over it. And the raised ink bits actually catches the ink and actually reactivates the ink, sometimes just on those little raised dots. So it just makes the dots themselves darker. I know. Hang on. Sometimes you go into a page, you know exactly what you're going to do on every single page. And sometimes you're going to go, what if I do this too? Just getting a little bit extra darkness. I don't want the hard edge from the edge of the, just darkens it a bit. Gotta get that ink flowing, baby. There we go. And let's highlight the rocks on top of the tombs a little bit more. Those I don't feel like I have to fill all the way in with white. They'll just pop a bit like the moonlight's hitting. Previous page of satellites, it's like full moon. So it's not as dark as it would otherwise be. I want to get rid of more of the black line here and then go sort of further away and just make them white shapes against the screen tone. Frankie, do you ever live stream your painting? True, it's Lovecraftian in the sense that it's an alien monstrosity, and it can be defeated in the terms of how Howard wrote his Lovecraftian riffs, not rifts. Have you? I'd love an opportunity to see you like actually working on one of your paintings live. So if you ever streamed one of them, I'd be like, yes, I'd love to see that. Even if you do something like when you're applying the varnish, just set up the camera, shoot a video of it. All right, 2 panels done already, and it's only 7:30, so I should be able to get this panel done before I call it. I'm going to dive in first in the most complicated part of this panel, redrawing all these weapons, in particular Conan's axe. I'm going to make sure that it stands out more. So there's some ghosts here. I will be doing the stamp. Now, the one problem I have with the stamps is the size limitations. So even if I start the stamp here, there's going to be a line coming through. So I have to be really, really careful if I want to use the stamps to define the value of the tone. Yeah, if you do it, I'll absolutely watch it. Help promote it or whatever too. Like if you know, actually, I gotta say, a friend of mine recommended to me the Logitech Brio, which I think is $150 stream camera, but I get this quality of stream. I looked at the other Logitech, which was it's flickering now because I'm putting my hand in its area of view and it keeps on trying to focus on stuff that you guys can't see. I find that this camera has really good color fidelity and detail, whereas the one step down, the C95, I'm probably not remembering right. Um, it doesn't get the level of detail that this Brio 1400, 400. Yeah. Um, this is too thick for the lines I'm doing now. I can still use that thick line to help it define from the background, but this is better for the weapons. Did you guys see the weapon tree page? Did I show that to you guys? I'm actually just using the straight webcam because OBS kept doing this weird thing, resizing my screen and creating a whole bunch of other issues. Again, my tech friend says he's going to help me sort it out, but it's like he's busy too. I mean, I think he just started a new gig company where he's doing all their tech work. So I'm not going to, pester some friends like, can you help me for free for what you do for a living? So I hate when people do that to me. Oh, we got here. Yeah, I didn't show that tree. Let me see if I can dig it out. No spoilers on that page. It's just I think it's a cool drawing, cool page to share. Nope, not that. Here we go. It's actually page 19. Wow, look at that kind of focus pulling there. Let's slow down a second. Yeah, streaming software. So yeah, so this is there's this weird kind of severed tree and kind of his trophies. The cultists are like sticking all these weapons in it and throwing a bunch of the booty they collect um, from caravans they raid. And there's the kid main character from the story walking by it. So yeah, so that's the tree I'm now drawing at night. And Conan, that's Conan's axe. He's gonna grab it if you can see. I don't know if you can see the blue that detail there. Thanks. Yeah. Um, update since last week. My artwork is being returned by Cadence. It should arrive tomorrow. And then I'm going to go through and decide will be the replacement 5 pieces I put up on my big cartel shop. Right now I have pieces I had on hand. I want to start putting in some of the pieces I get back. Tree. I just love drawing trees. I love painting too. I just don't do as much painting as I thought I was going to do. I mean, like back in art school, I was like, "Oh, Richard's going to be a painter," And it's like, I just fell in love with pen and ink so much. And I'm just generally happier dealing with the one value, um, and mimicking tones and everything with it, tones and textures. But I do love painting, especially with limited palettes. I actually got in trouble for fanning a few pages from my watercolor sketchbook a few weeks ago. I got flagged as adult content and my video was restricted, which was an interesting experience. I was like, oh, all right. And they're like, you're not, this isn't counting as an official warning. And I'm like, oh my God, it could have. Because apparently, like, YouTube is a three strikes and you're out deal. Um, and I'd hate to. I mean, I think I'm almost at 500 subscribers. I think I have to check. I don't 475 maybe. I looked last week and I can't remember. I'd hate to like have been working away at this for like 40 some odd weeks and then lose everything just because I goofed up somehow by showing like a boobie. I mean, I'm a huge fan of boobs. Don't get me wrong, but I understand that YouTube has a problem with them. A little puritanical online video. It's got to roll with it. Going quiet as I try and get all these little weapons drawn in as quickly as possible. I'd figured that they would take what they thought were the shiniest, prettiest weapons from a raid, stick them in this tree almost like as a decorative element, and some of them would just fall off, lie on the ground, and rot and rust and everything. Well, I think you can beat boobs, but only if there's consent. Well, considering that, if I understand correctly, YouTube started because of and we're on Super Bowl day, because of the Janet Jackson Justin Timberlake halftime show where he showed her boob jewelry, and people wanted to see that video, and so these guys developed this video platform to share that video, and here we are today. There's also all these weird mosses growing on this. I figured out how I'm going to handle them at nighttime. There's an axe. I think I'll probably just, because I did all this with super fine line work, I think I'm going to go over it with the 03 and render textures and tones, but in a very, very, very dark way. Wow. Okay, I haven't gone on Pinterest um, for a while because I saw that it was like getting harder and harder to find stuff of any value, and it's like heavily infiltrated with AI shit, which is something I really. Oh my god! When I was like, I dug up my. Whenever I'm about to draw something, I already have reference for it. I'll dig out what I have on hand, and then I'll do a quick image search to make sure I'm not relying too much on the same reference all the time. And so my image reference search for wolves, I would say was about 25 to 30% AI generated images of wolves being sold as stock photography. And it was so easy to see these were AI generated. There's something about the values and all that AI garbage. It's always, it's cranked up. The colors have this weird oversaturated element to them. And to me, it's like it just jumps out. Even the more realistic AI shit gets, it really really jumps out that it's AI. And I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna be in so much trouble when people start thinking that that's what things really look like. Because I was looking at these, I was looking at some of them, and you had these extreme close-ups of like wolves snarling, and the teeth were all wrong, and people are selling that as clip art. And I'm just thinking, there's going to be people who have no idea what a wolf looks like, seeing AI wolf and going, okay, that's right. So, I mean, it's like I've done enough drawings of wolves in my career that to know when the anatomy is right. Not enough to like draw them perfectly out of my memory, but it's like I've drawn them enough to go, oh no, that's wrong. And what are we going to do? I mean, we're going to be in so much trouble. It's like with deep fakes and like no idea what things look like in reality. It's gonna mess with us so much. Yeah, it's crazy. Um, yeah, I think I had a Pinterest account for my students when I was teaching years ago, and students had problems accessing it or something, or finding my files, or they're only finding it the wrong pages. It was so clunky to use. I stopped using it. I just started uploading like the things I wanted them to have to. Did the school have a server? I'm trying to remember if I was using Dropbox. No, I think I was using Dropbox. Actually, I just remember one of the things I ended up doing. If anyone remembers Blogspot allowed you to have certain files as downloads. So I remember one semester, if I wasn't printing out and handing stuff to the students, I was directing them to the Blogspot so they could get various lesson plans. It feels like there should be another line of shadow here, another batch of trees growing there. Landscape. Um, yeah, it's going to get so hard to do anything. I know it's going to be the big money entertainment industry that's going to solve AI for us. But the thing is, I'm also worried that the big money entertainment industry is going to fuck us all over for AI. I had a meeting with a former client. I used to do video games like a long time ago. And everyone's wanted to reach out to me for my opinion on things. Not the fact that they're not hiring me tells me they know exactly how much I didn't enjoy my time in video games. Um, they used to try to hire me all the time. Like, no, but they're like asking about one of them was approached by someone who wanted to do a fully AI image generated video game that would generate new imagery in play. And on the surface of it, that sounds cool. But the moment you think about it for a bit, you realize that way lies madness. Um, the research I've done on AI since this came about is that once they essentially have these programs developing, they can't control what's in them, and they can't control what they're doing. In fact, well, there was like a story that just came out like a week or two ago that one of the programs went rogue, resisted correction training, and they had to essentially delete it. And I'm just thinking, it's like, it's really a case where they're never going to know when it's working properly because they don't know what goes in once it starts. These are not deep learning, but they're learning models of algorithm generated software. So you can't control where they get their data and what they do with it. And I have to go over this with a heavier pen, I think. It's too faint. It's totally scary. So I told him to stay away from it. Yeah. That is news to me. I didn't know NBC Universal did it, but I got a friend at Disney who says they're trying to convince them to take this stance public too. But apparently, some faction of Disney actually started working on their own animation AI program. So there's some internal fighting. Um, he couldn't talk about it because, of course, he's part of the corporation. Um, so I understand why he's not saying anything, but it's like that's not good stuff. Probably, you know what? Even though this is the way it would hang, it's making him look a little chunky here. I'm just going to take a little bit of this out. There's a scene where he starts a massive fire and it's going to catch onto the top part of his fur thing, so he rips that off. So he's going to be Conan in his fur diaper by the end of the comic, so everyone can be happy. Got to draw him in like really cool, like layered leather armor early on, but I want to get that Conan fur diaper going. Good stuff, babes. Okay, I got ghost. I'm gonna probably do a ghost with lines with white paint on top of this, and it'll actually feel transparent. Yeah. Yeah, he did. So that wasn't in the plot that Jim and I came up with, but there's a one-page, pretty much almost immediately after the scene where he dispatches the wolves that attack him. And I put a pond in that little hollow he's spending most of the issue in, so that there'd be water there. I established he's able to start fire, so he actually already has the immediate ingredients, including he has wolf brain too. So he has all the ingredients he needs to tan the hides, so they stay flexible and they don't rot. And so in the one-page flashback, he actually makes two stretchers for the skins, so they'll dry flat. And I also included a ruined sword lying near that pond. So the people who go, well, Conan doesn't have all the tools to do those wolf skins and they'd rot and all that stuff. I just kind of wanted to put that in there, so it's like, no, it's all there. Bulletproof the story, even though we don't have extended sequences of him doing the work. So on one page, he goes from wearing the remaining of his breeches, which he may still be wearing, just washing quite often in that pond, um, under the furry diaper. But I'm not going to go there. But this is now in the fall. So we go from spring as they travel through different regions. They go from spring through the fall as he recovers. So it's essentially like 6 months to let him recover from having his legs and arm broken. I used to do storyboards, but up here in Toronto, so it's like a really weird. It's a weird environment. I got some friends who still do boards. I found it just everyone. I kept getting asked to relocate to the U.S. and I kind of like it up here in Canada. It just seems safer on so many different levels. We elect our crazies too, but it just feels that there's like a slightly more um, safe and polite culture up here. Maybe LA's different. I've never actually been to LA. I really got to get down there. Um, yeah, it's I thought about that. It's like I watched a ton of videos on what the absolute minimum method to tan hides were, and I made sure that Conan had access to that stuff. I figured it'd be the type of stuff that Conan would really be able to do. Start fires without any other tools, tan hides, make durable survival wear. I mean, so many of his stories, he's either surviving in the wood. They talked about his woodscraft in Beyond the Black River. He grew up in Samaria, which would have been pretty barbaric. So it's like his dad, grandfather, who was also an adventurer, would have definitely taught him stuff. So he crosses a creek here. We established it earlier in the story. I just didn't want him sloshing around. So I'm just gonna do the reeds on either side of this shallow creek. Yeah, that's. So I had two different groups of people wanting me to relocate to LA. I had some screenwriters I used to talk to. There's a website called World Player, and I connected with some screenwriters who are convinced I should write for a living because of the way we talked about stuff. And back then, I had writing samples, and I shared them with them. They were either politely or very impressed, but politely impressed enough to say I should relocate. They could get me in a writer's room. But then, as also when I was doing storyboards, I'd do mostly video games. But it's like I'd always end up invariably working with our directors who did work in TV and video games, and they offered me jobs. It's just we'll set you up and move you down here. There seemed to be more money in storyboards in the '90s. And I just thought, as soon as I get down there, I'm going to stay. And I just imagine the worst possible things happening. Actually, I'm going to use, yeah, here we go. One of the other tools I like are these Rotring liquid ink felt tip pens, markers. They flow like crazy. They don't last as long as the O2, but they give me a nice dark black ink. And if I'm doing my scribbling, they generally allow me to get a little more line weight on them because of the tip being soft. Yeah, my son's in the union up here. He's a rigger right now. He kind of wants to become a cinematographer, so in his mind, he's kind of accepting the idea if he makes progress, he's going to have to move to the States or Vancouver even because so much stuff gets shot there. And there's part of me that goes, okay, my son moves all the way on LA, I might go too, and start over my career. I can. The thing is, because of the comics, I can work anywhere. The question is, do I want to work as someplace as expensive as LA to do comics? Oh, there's my son right now. Here we go. Um, I I love visual storytelling. I'd like to think that I'd be a decent director. Um, just in terms of like making sure that the shots are set up right and everything. But there's also the part of me that goes, I don't want to be a bad filmmaker. I don't want to like have all these hopes and dreams and all these opinions based on like everything I've read and everything I've drawn over the years, and then I make my first story and it's utter garbage and looks like something will be put up by Uncorked releasing on Prime. Mm, yeah, I mean it's there's a part of me that would, if I set it up, I would probably be enough of a coward that I would want to essentially hire on a mentor, like an experienced DP, who would advise me when I'm fucking up. Um, I mean, there's all these there's so many different ways into directing. It's like I was just reading this little article about McCabe and Mrs. Miller, uh, the Robert Altman film. It's weird because Altman can run it. He can either do brilliant filmmaking or he can do utter disasters. And there's parts of McCabe and Miss Miller that, I mean, production wise, direction wise, don't hold together, but the character work is amazing. And then you find out that Warren Beatty apparently did all essentially directed himself and Julie Christie through that movie. And you go, Robert Altman did Nashville, man. Um, yeah, it's yeah. I would if I was going to get serious about like a career shift. Um, I would do that. Weirdly enough, I almost in high school when I was applying to art school, the high school drama teacher somehow became enamored of me because I was goofing around with some of the students as they were prepping for something I can't remember what, and he was very upset that he only found out about me my last year in high school. And he was like trying to offer me all these things. I can get you into the university for the drama program, no problem. I can probably even get you a scholarship. And he made the mistake of saying that in front of some of the students who were there the entire 3 years of high school. And he'd never offered them that shit. And then he told me, he was like, I can even get you, we can get you a pipeline agent. We can get you a local Canadian agent. Because at that time, there was a lot of filming in Winnipeg, because that's where I'm from. And I think I need to do some screen work on top of that just to break up that squiggle. It's like the squiggle giving some texture to the hill. Look at that focus bouncing. But I think a little bit of screen work on top of that. Or even actually, part of the reason why I use vellum paper. Yeah, oh my God, Amsel. Oh my God. It's almost a crime how little people know about the great poster artists. So in using this vellum paper, I can take black colored pencil, and it gives me this wonderful, I've used it in some of the other pages, it gives me this wonderful texture as I just lightly stroke it in and it scans as black. I can let it fade really well. I can even go, look, I can go super dark here at the top of the ridge. It's a little bit of rip on what they used to do with a coquille board in comics, which is that really, people also call it pebble board because a lot of people don't like saying coquille. If I go too dark, this stuff lifts with an eraser. I can go back in on over top of this and make some inclines too to add some texture. But yeah, one of the great tricks why I use a rougher board. I think about, I mean, Frazetta was a huge influence. I think that's self-evident. And we just celebrated his 92nd birthday. I mean, he's passed, but his birthday still keeps ticking over. Amsel, Mark English, Bernie Fuchs, so many amazing. Actually, you know what? I love showing off some of my art books on stream, and I almost brought. I just got the Taschen Frazetta book, and it's as big as this image area, so it wouldn't fit on camera. I'd have to pull the camera way back. I just love sharing those art books. So, and there's a. Is it Bernie Fuchs book I got? I think it's the Bob Peak book. I think maybe next week next week is going to be me drawing head sketches for the Coven art book. So this is the last Conan for a while. I mean, at some point I might do more Conan work if I do an issue of the comic book, which is still on my bucket list. I'll put some noise, like actual black dark spots and shapes in here too. Robert McGinnis. Oh my God. Do you have the Robert McGinnis book, Frankie? And the recolored books from Jose Villarrubia is doing through Dark Horse. Beautiful. They're all slowly coming out. I think he's all done, all of them. Dark Horse is releasing them pretty slowly, probably because they're not cheap books, so they want to be aware of the costs for audiences. All right, so I have a ghost here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Post-its. I'm just going to do slight vertical. Find that not having like the straight up edge of the stamp hitting the paper. Oh, Esteban Maroto. Oh my God. So good. I had a decent Maroto book years ago. And I'm so eager to show off and share my books. They're like long gone. I cry tears. And the reason why I put these Post-it notes down is because it creates a layer of depth that keeps the dots from connecting with the paper, so they fade towards the edge as opposed to overlap and create a hard edge. I think I'm actually going into a panel below. I wasn't careful enough. Yeah, it's going into there, but that's okay. That's no biggie. So now I have a ghost that's going to be coming here in this white spot here. And I can probably just do a little, get some of the already used up ink to add into there. If I don't push too hard, just some of the dots connect with the paper and it works. So I get this whole night scene and it just works. It's just tips I learned. So many amazing artists. I'm trying to think, like all my primary art books are in my living room. Here I just have like reference books for the most part. all my photo, like all my Japanese photo reference books, how to draw books in case I need to pull out like my anatomy, um, all my Loomis books and everything. That's weird. For all the love for Loomis's anatomy books, you figured there'd be a Loomis art book out there. Not the hugest fan of his painted work, but I really appreciate the technical facility he brings to it. I kind of like crazier paintings. All right, so now I've knocked down the value of everything. It's almost like in painting, a lot of my drawing techniques come from painting, studying painting. If you paint in the mid values, and you have to be aware of your darkest darks. So here I can actually make Conan a little bit darker now. It's just this big black shape walking through the field here. Everything I add light to, like the ghosts up here, starts popping better. So I'm going to be, of course, adding some of those highlights to Conan's axe, probably not to any of the other weapons, just to make sure that axe pops. I'll probably put a rim light on the upper part of the blade, maybe a little bit of highlight on this part here, and then along the haft all the way to the ball here at the end. And I'll make his axe pop from the rest of the environment. I just want to put a little bit of darkness and texture in the tree because at nighttime, as light a value as a tree, because they're usually just kind of like a gray value, it would still look darker. It's also going to obfuscate a lot of the weapons that I've drawn here, but they're there. So if the reader's looking for them, they're going to see enough to know what it is because it's the second time it's showing up. Lessons in Laziness by Richard Pace. How to cheat your way through drawing a comic book. No AI required. I was wondering about that because I have this weird feeling that maybe they don't have good quality reproductions or that many originals on hand. Because this is not the first time I've asked about it. And there was someone who was actually I talked to. I'm trying to remember who he was. He was a New York guy. I talked to him one of the times I was actually at the Society of Illustrators in New York City. And I said, "Why isn't there a Loomis art book?" And he says despite being a friend with Andrew, he only ever saw a few Loomis pieces in person. And usually those are pieces that Loomis was working on. He didn't know, and this would be one of the guys who probably would know because like him being in New York and all that stuff. He didn't know what happened to the originals. Loomis may have sold them, may have made gifts of them. His estate may not have had any paintings to share. So it could just be, his decision making at the time resulted in making it too difficult for anyone to go around and find out what happened with his work. So I'm a little heartbroken at the notion that, because the thing of it is I have his book Creative Illustration, and you can see his painting approach. And as solid as his values are and everything, and his drawing is impeccable, his use of color felt very period specific. I think you may know what I'm talking about there. I do like hidden details. Ninja. Oh, I almost have to move the page up. Oh, what time is it? 8:15. Oh gosh. Okay, maybe I'll finish this panel and then take a break, eat some dinner. So there's ghosts in the foreground here. And what I'm going to do is cross-hatch them into being, and then I'll go back in after I get the white shapes I want. Oh, there's a new Deadpool trailer? Oh yeah, it's Super Bowl day. All the trailers are going to be breaking right now. A friend of mine said he's half expecting Taylor Swift to show up as a Marvel character just for the trailer, even if she isn't in the movie, like maybe as Dazzler or something like that. Yeah, I guess Deadpool is now officially MCU. Um, I think the last time I was seriously excited for a Marvel movie and I was sadly disappointed was Love and Thunder. Um, I mean, even though I was hearing like bad stories about working on the set, that Marvel was pushing Taika around too much. I don't know if anyone else heard this, but one of the things I heard early on was that he pitched it as Love and Thunder as a two-parter, where he would actually have a movie to explore the Jane Foster Thor, an actual whole movie with her, with Hemsworth just gone and only showing up at the end when the bad guy is explored. Do I want a ghost right up here? I think I do. I love these pens. The paint, the signal white that they use is so good. I bought a refill to use just with a brush. But the dispenser for the super fine ones is less than ideal. Um, and just like that, the axe pops out of there. I think I'm going to do a ghost here. I honestly, despite I kind of agree that gore is a hard concept to get into a movie, I thought Christian Bale was the best part. His performance, it felt like he was in it felt like he was in a different good movie, and everyone else was stuck in that steaming turd that we got to watch the rest of. Um, and I can also see where Taiki wanted to give Natalie Portman a whole movie to play Thor and get across the idea that she had to prove herself, and then she's fighting a villain that she really can't beat, and then Hemsworth shows up, and oh, here we go. I got three ghosts in there. I think him as the villain for two movies. I think he's just he's that good. And when you have Christian Bale, you know you're going to get an amazing performance. And I have a feeling, whereas like they introduce him in one movie, establish how incredibly powerful he is. It's actually too bad they killed Loki in Endgame in that sense, because it would have been one of the ways they could have established how powerful Gore was by I mean, I really would have liked to see Natalie Portman play off against Hiddleston. I think they would have done really well. Again, I should say. Um, and yeah, it's just, so what I'm told is that there was going to be a little bit establishing that Thor was gone off with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and there was going to be that whole 110-minute movie of Natalie Portman not only getting the powers, learning she has the powers, but also dealing with her cancer. So all that's already established. And so the audience would know all of that stuff when Hemsworth shows up and no one's telling him. And that would have actually given Hemsworth a little bit more to play with. And also having two movies of Christian Bale establishing how dangerous Gore was would have just made the movie better. It's like the rush to, oh no, we have to move to this point because we want to have the War of the Gods happening. I mean, it's just their agenda sometimes is getting in the way of creativity, I think. Whereas at one point, I think it was great that they were loving Marvel, but like the actual comics. But now it's like, oh, we have an agenda. We have to hit these movies this timeline. Yeah. All right. So we are at 8:22. You guys know I don't want to go too much past an hour because that's exhausting everybody. Plus, I'm hungry. So I got half a page done. I'm next week again is going to be. I'll just show you if you can see the blue there. So there's Conan holding the axe after he pulls it out of there. I think the axe popped pretty good. Seeing the barrels of pitch, thinking and smiling, but it's a very tiny pan, subtle. And then walking into the town. So I'm going to finish that tonight, right after I finish dinner. All right, everybody. Next week, it's going to be working. It's going to be Coven night. I'm going to draw a big pile of those headshots for the Coven art book. And not quite sure what I'm doing the week after that. I have a whole bunch of projects I'm working on, so I might either do one of that, or I might open up a commission to do live. I'm using Big Cartel to handle all my art sales. The stuff that's up there now, I think it's Richard Pace art site. I should write this down so I can promote it better. Be a real professional. The stuff that's up there now is stuff I had on hand, so it's not as deep a pile of artwork I'll have come tomorrow. Yeah, so if I want to open up commissions, what I might do is make one of the spots in the Big Cartel thing commission spot that I'd live stream. Last week I talked about the change in my Patreon where I opened up a $35 a month big picture tier, and that was to allow people to buy 11 by 17 oversized, more detailed, essentially cover quality commissions, but do so over the course of a year, and so it doesn't hit their wallets quite as hard. They're all gone. And yeah, so if there's a lot of demand in another month, so every 2 months, if there's a lot of demand, I might add 1, 2, 3, more likely just one. And so that allows me to space them out so I'm never getting overloaded with commissions and work. So yeah, everyone, thank you so much for coming out and chatting with me. This is you guys keeping me company while I'm working is honestly the best part of streaming. So hopefully I'll see all of you, or at least some of you, if you're free next Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I want you all to have the best possible week you can have, and as productive and full of joy as you can make it. Night, everybody.